Hello, welcome back to Design Elements and Principles. What are we up to? Session 11 out of 16. Getting through them. We're on the other side of the fence here. We did elements. Now we're on principles. Today is contrast and part 2 of the poster design project. All quite doable, all quite understandable. Let's just jump in without further ado. All right. As we always do, I'll start from the back to the front. One thing I just want to remind students of, make sure you start registering for your next semester classes. Registration is open. Just, sign up for the next round. I will post in here a little worksheet to help you know what to take next. If you have questions, please email me. Just be like, what is next? I'll get right back to you and get you registered for, or help you understand what to register for next. I cannot register you. So make sure you're doing that. Make sure you're just staying on top of things. Fall ends, spring starts, courses fill up. The sooner you register, the better. If it fills up, it's full. And then you got to wait. So just kind of know that, it's not an infinite amount of class space. So make sure you get in, and you get in earlier than later. As they say, the early bird gets the worm. The late bird waits for the next semester. All right, let's work on this. Let's do our standard reverse, jump. We'll do, reverse, contrast, and then end up on rough drafts. Rough drafts pretty easy. You got 75% of the work already done for the rough drafts. That's the beautiful part, but I'll explain more. All right, quick challenge, session 11. You know what to do. Start this up. Go to the internet if you need to. What is the purpose of a style guide? It's to ensure brand consistency. A style guide. Learn that. That's something that you'll be learning about later on in your career, but it's good to know now, right? It's good to hear these words now before you start anything. We always have our books. This section's on transparency. Give it a good look through. Let me know what you think. Check out all those images. Look at that cool. Some cool techniques going here. I love that plus. There's a program and there's a script you can add to Illustrator to do cool stuff like that. You'll learn that third semester once you're masters of the programs. So do the transparency. Let me know what you like about it. Write it up, turn it in, easy peasy. Knock them out. Get them done. Let's do contrast. It's a fairly short one, and then we'll get into the rough drafts. This is going to be a quick one today. As we roll out and kind of get toward the end of the semester, things get a little bit easier. I don't know, easier, but less time is needed to go over everything again. So we're doing contrast today. It is what it is, contrast. What different types of contrast are there? Color, value, size, shape, temperature, spatial, typography, texture. It comes in all shapes and sizes. It's the differentiation between two, I want to say it like objects. So you would have two circles, one's big, one's small. That's size contrast. You got two circles, one's yellow, one's purple. That's color contrast. I could do the same thing for all of these, circle and a square. That's that contrast. So the contrast is just helping with helping guide the eye. We talk a lot about that, guiding the eye and making sure that people, you want them to see certain parts. And so you develop contrast to help them see that. So all these principles that we're talking about work in different ways, and you can choose. It's not don't ever think that the list of design elements and principles that oh my God, I got to use all of them. I got to use all 16 items every time in every design. Oh, absolutely not. You'll use some more than others, different designs, bring in different aspects. Like you may have a high contrasty design, and then some other time you may have a high texture design, like the texture is the lead or something like that. Like that's the differences that we come to when we work on this. So we'll just quickly peruse and check out some five contrasting pieces of design work. And get us rolling here. So of course, color contrast. Differences in color are a powerful way to create contrast. Complementary colors. Remember, complementary colors are those opposites. We learned that in the color unit. Yellow and purple. I always start with yellow. Yellow is my favorite color. Blue and orange, red and green. You're gonna eventually memorize those. Look at the color wheel. Have a color wheel around. They have color wheels and like anything that helped me like visually, just when I looked around wherever I work, I liked visual idea generators, and some of them were color wheels, different weird things, books, whatever works for you. But yeah, that's the big one. Color contrast, like easy enough, creates a dynamic effect. It doesn't even have to be color to color either. The old standard, let's do this. I'll do this bright yellow. I think I've done this in the past, is if you just kind of do this and I do this. My angles are bad. If I kept doing this, and I'll join it so it makes more sense. It's the warning tape. What color is warning tape? It's bright yellow and black. It's two contrasting colors. Yellow gets your eye. The black is powerful against the yellow. We use it to warn people, like, stay out of here. You see this bright yellow? Because, like how often are you seeing like in a drab city, bright yellow? Like, so it stands out. And then now we even have that more as we're embracing European culture with high fluorescence, high vis, they call it. They've been using high vis forever. We're a little bit stodgy over here in America, and like high vis, people will see me. But it's beautiful. High vis is beautiful. Value refers to lightness and darkness of color. High contrast and values makes elements stand out. Black and white, for instance, exhibits the highest contrast. But then we have stuff like this. This can be very interpreted. Like when we look over here, this is both high and low contrast, and we'll come back to that. But it's like, how do you use value? And then you can change the value by just the colors you use as well. It's not just like, dark green to light green, but you have a light pastel yellow next to a really deep dark purple. Like that's value. It's not just color. We're changing the value of the colors instead of like full pigment next to full pigment. We lighten one up, that's a great one. Size. Do I need to really go into this one? I'll do a drawing just for fun. Size contrast. Small. Big. There we go. That's how you do it. It is like, and then which is more important? Well, this is going to be the more important one. It's bigger. Right? So like, that's how like we work with that. The bigger element is the one that we want people to see. Pretty easy. Shape. It's just contrast. Like I could have, like, that, and then, that signifies one thing, and then up at the top, got some, and if I would have done it, I should have done this, which I still will do, is like you get shape and color contrast now. And the meaning, like, and then it draws in meaning too. Like we have the jagged, rough mountains, and then real light, fluffy clouds. the shapes are different, the colors are different. Is it contrasting, you know? And that's how it's supposed to make you feel. When you look up, you see one thing. And when you talk about the feeling, that is when you can do a piece that evokes emotion in the viewer, they're gonna remember better. Memories are based on emotion. You know, it's I want to say, like, we remember the bad days better, but they're usually more jarring to us than like a really great day. Like really great days, you're like, oh, that was a great day. It's just like heavenly, and you just moved on. But then when there's nothing to dwell on, but you have a bad day and you remember the parts of the bad. So it's like that, your memory is also set to like when you see graphic design, when you see an advertisement and it brings you joy, or you're like, oh, that's really like, oh my God, that's such an intense piece. Like, you know, you can love it or hate it and be like, but you're going to remember that. Like, oh, I remember it because of the intenseness. Well, look at this, texture contrast. Well, if I was drawing something for texture contrast, it would be, you know, like I would start with these mountains and then we have some clouds. There's a texture contrast. Texture, color, shape, just in 3 objects. I'm creating tons of contrast. It's very simple. And that's why I like this one. I'm like, you know, a little bit laughing is it's pretty easy to figure all this out for this. Typography. Using different fonts, different sizes, different weights. By weight, we mean the thickness of the line. So like I can write high, or if I can write high. There's no really good. I wish there was a better. I don't think there's a paint bucket. No, there's no paint bucket. You know, and then it's thick. So that's the line weight, you know, the weight of, so you have thick and thin, that's the weights. Styles, I can have high, or I can have, oh, I'm really bad at like kind of cursive-y stuff, like, you know, like something weird, you know, like there's a weird high, you know, like, so that's script versus sans serif, and then you have, you know, if I do this really weird serif design, you know. So we're contrasting different types of type. You can go crazy with this. It's awesome. Spatial contrast achieved through arrangements of elements. You put things close together, or you move them far apart. It creates tension and interest. So if you group in something that's called chunking, and I talked about this the other day, if you have just some information here, but then up here you have like lots of closed cell information, and then a gap, you know, like then a gap, you're like, oh, there's a lot of stuff going on up here as opposed to down here. You know, where am I going to look? You know, like, oh, I'm going to look up here and then end down here. Temperature contrast. I should move this over to the color ones. Warm and cool colors contrast each other. We know that from the color wheel. Blues, some greens, some purples are cool. Red, orange, yellow is warm. There are variations in each one. That is a general statement, not a scientific statement into which it could be argued a little bit better. So that's a contrast. I mean, you know, it is what it is. I love showing this piece because it's like high contrast, low contrast. We have the bright white background. We have white and black. But then what did they do as their value change? Is they took like, it's almost like 100% black, and then they did a 90%, like very close. So like there's contrast, but not contrast in this piece, but yet it evokes a lot of emotion, a lot of interest. It's pretty cool. Is he recording his voice onto a record? Like, are they recording live? Or is that a speaker? I think that's a microphone that's leading to a record player. Oh yeah, because it's got two arms. So he's recording his voice and the band, or that's pointed at the band and he's recording it. So cool, but lots of just like kind of different things going on here. We have a textural contrast as well. See how these like little lines make up the piece? Instead of everything being smooth, we have some stripes here. We have some texture here. We have other texture here. Like it's all different. But then it's like when you really look at it, you're like, oh my God, it's like black and gray. But so much is happening. Another black and gray. Well, they're both this good. I don't know. This is like purpley warm. But in this one, that whole idea of like layering and things going on, and we have a fuzzy, really far background. Fuzzy, really background's really fuzzy. Right? This S, really fuzzy. And then we have this fuse. It's less fuzzy. And then the one we want to read is perfect. Like sharp, crystal clear, and white. There's white in here, but there's like little patches and hidden and shadows. And it's still, you could say, well, this is the brightest point, but this consistently is the brightest point. So it's a melding of like, how do I use that? And then, but this sticks out. This is the contrast. And then down below it is the text in pure black. And then more information over here where they did a contrast. They did black text on a light background and a light text on a dark background. So you're always contrasting. This really comes into play is right here. And you'll hear me talk probably more in the future, or maybe more on your poster design and your pamphlet, your designer pamphlet design is going to be like, oh, you got to change the color of the text. I can't read, I'll say like, I can't read the text. It means if I glance at it and I can't read the letters, the contrast isn't high enough. We need to adjust something to bring up that contrast. We don't, unless we're doing some very avant-garde / for designers only, which there's like this weird design thing, designers designing for other designers, where you can get really meta with your stuff. And then other graphic designers are like, oh, I see what you did. That's brilliant. But like nobody else would understand it. It's like hidden to them. So you'll hear me say stuff like, I can't read your type. You need to make it more contrasting. I just wanted to zoom this one in. Sometimes we forget. All you need is black and white. I call it white, black and cream. We get so wrapped up in our computers with everything that can happen on a computer that sometimes we just like, oh, black and white. Why don't I just do it in black and white? I am for the future going to start introducing design problems that are like just like this. You can only use one color in black or something like that to restrict, just so you can see what you can do. Because when we give the assignments, like I want you to go crazy on the poster. I want you to go crazy on the pamphlet, about the designer pamphlet. Like try things out, practice. Like that's one of the things. And then there's the reverse of it, the contrast. So the contrast in learning design is we give you do crazy like this, and I'll come to this one. And then the contrast is then do a design like this. So you experience both levels of the design and just being like restricted to one color and like, oh wait, but okay, if I can't do contrasting colors, well then I have to do a really, really fat font that sticks out, comparatively, like then how do you use contrast in this to get people to read what they need to read, where, when, why, and how. So all that stuff is coming up. Look at this. Liquid Joe's. So much color, contrast, color contrast. We got, we got black purple on a warm background with 90% warm coming through here. The initial, like, I'll say like plume here around the purpley dark panther, it's contrasting. And then on the edges, we have cold coming in. So cold. It almost seems like it's behind the warm that's in front. We got, this name is the warm, but then the panther's face is all in the cool colors. But yet the third eye, I forget what it's called. Third eye is good enough. Is like warm. So they're like looking at each piece. What do we want? This sticks out more here. It's warm against the cool colors, contrast, warm against the dark, but it's also the yellow is popping it. Then that background, again, switching and moving things around. What contrast? Liquid Joe's 10-1. That's in the darkest, and they even went from black to purple on top of yellow, because yellow and purple are contrasting colors. So they looked at it. If you look at every part of this, you're gonna be like, oh yeah, they contrasted here, they contrasted there, they contrasted here. So all over the place on this one. Finally, back in the day, there used to be an item called an iPod. After the Discman, where you would use a CD to walk around and it held an album or tape, but CD was cool. iPod came out. They weren't the first people. They were not the first people with MP3 player. But what they were the first people to introduce white. So what Apple did, in contrast to what everybody else did, in which was a contrast to audio equipment, is in general, audio equipment was always black. I believe it was always black because people just kind of wanted to hide it. And so you just had a black appliance. It just kind of hid. You had stereo cabinets and all this stuff. And you weren't really advertising your stereo equipment. It was black. It had some lights. It had knobs. But it was very, just subdued. Carry items. If you had headphones, they were a black cord, and it was orange puffy things on your ears. It was this foam, and they went around your head. So the earbuds, corded earbuds, were relatively new at the time as well. And so what Apple did was we're going to make them white. We're going to have a white device. We're going to have a white cord. And what that did in public was what it did here with this contrasting piece, is we have a silhouette of somebody using on a very bright background, dancing, listening to their music with their contrasting white earbuds and iPod for a couple years, maybe a couple years. When did this come out? Welcome to Digital Music, 10,000 something. The new iPod. I don't remember what year this came out, but I would say for 2 years in history, when you saw somebody with white in their ears, you're like, you have an Apple product. It was just synonymous, no matter what. Now, people are on the trend of different colors, different everything. It's harder to tell. You can tell more by shape than by color. But for years, it was when you saw white cord or white earbuds, you were like, that's Apple. And then, of course, everybody jumped on the bandwagon. I don't know what their trademark policies were, but that is something that they brought from the physical realm into the print realm, because people knew. When you saw this billboard, you knew. Oh boy, you saw people with white, and you knew you couldn't get away from it. And then they had these in different color backgrounds, different people dancing, but it was always the same setup. And it so contrast, so simple yet so effective, because they had something brand new to show the world. And they did it really well with graphic design. So it's pretty cool. Any questions on contrast? All right, let's jump in. Let's check out your contrast research. What program do we have to use today? Illustrator. So again, once again, we're switching back and forth. You got to be familiar with both programs. I've seen some great stuff coming from people too. Multi-pages, really above and beyond. I love it. Love what I'm seeing. Keep it up. Make sure you follow the instructions. People are doing pretty good with the margin. That's always a hard one, and the crop marks, but just follow directions. If at any point you are unsure, please don't just turn it in, but you could find out within hours for the project review. You just send it in, and I check it, and I get back to you, like, fix this, adjust that. And you're like, oh yeah, perfect. I got it perfect now. I don't have to worry. So that's, there we go with that. You know what to do. I want your book cover. I want your movie poster. I want an album cover showing contrast. Look around. Different eras, different times, favorites. Get crazy. The more you view this stuff too, the reason we do these research is like, the more you're looking at these images, the more your brain is just absorbing different types of design styles. It's it's great to do that. You can't just, it's just not the homework. It's like looking around the world. I always want to make analogies, and then with analogies, you're always like, oh, well, there's always that one person who, like, we eat a variety of foods. And then you get the one person who's like, well, I only eat macaroni and cheese only. I'll be like, okay, you're the outlier, but 90% of people eat a variety of food. You should be looking at a variety of design work to help you with your design work. And that's why we do that project. The contrast project. Contrast. I want you to create contrasting compositions with the parameters: color, shape, typography. Super easy. Like, not super easy, but I want you to have fun. I want you to push it. I want you to try different things. Try different tools. They're like, well, I don't know how to use that. Look it up. Ask me. Like, hey, I had this idea and I don't know how to do it. Oh my gosh, I get so excited. I'm like, yeah, okay, this is what you do. And I'll show you. YouTube it. Look it up. I will help you. I'm always around to help. Love it. And I get excited, like, okay, do this, and we'll get on a meeting. So yeah, we got 1, 2 different compositions for contrast with color. Have some fun. I'm going to get the people who just like half and half. Well, it's really, really smart. Do something good. I mean, this is your world, your creativity world. Shape, do like 2 compositions to show me that you understand what contrast and shape, and then contrast and typography. This one can be fun. I got ideas. Do you have ideas? I have ideas. Just kind of push your mind. Push it. If you're always like, well, I'm not sure, you talk to me. Let's have a little meetup. So it should be pretty straightforward. Have some fun. Any questions on that? All right. Finally, the poster project. Rough drafts. So what we are doing, and now we are in the rough draft stage. You're still not going to go digital yet. You're going to do what's called the rough draft. So what you did initially, or what you're doing to turn in tonight, is like 6 thumbnail sketches. Now the thumbnail sketches are what I would better call idea generators. You're just whipping down ideas really quick, really loose, getting it onto the piece of paper. However you're getting it on the piece of paper, getting it on your digital iPad, your drawing pad, whatever you use, but it should be quick. It should be easy. You shouldn't be thinking. There should be no typography. It's just like, I want this here. I want this here. I want to move this here. What if I did this? What if I added a horn? What if I added a guitar? And you just really quick and loose. It's just the idea. 6 ideas generated. You know, that's understandable. You know, you got to be able to recognize what things are a little bit. Then what you're going to do is you're going to choose 2 of your favorite thumbnails sketch, and you're going to revise them and develop a rough draft. So the rough draft is what we give to the client. So you don't usually show the client a thumbnail. You show them the rough draft so they can have an idea of what they're going to get in the end product. So I was trying to think of a good way to describe this, of what we do. Is you could go to a restaurant, and there's different levels of this. You go to a restaurant, and the menu just says, the menu has a list of the word food 8 times and $signs behind it. And you'd be like, well, what do you mean food? And they're like, you know, food. You're getting food. So, but you, as a person who's purchased, you're like, I would like to know what I'm getting before I get it. Oh, so you want a description of the food. Okay, so the menu would be like a hamburger. The hamburger is 2 beef patties, lettuce, sauce, cheese, you know, blah, blah. And it's a list out. And you can understand that from that write-up, what you're going to possibly receive from the restaurant. So we are now at that stage. So the rough draft is what you show the client so they can look at it and say, I know what I'm going to receive, but of course in better, like not in this drawn form, but I will get it in a form. So they can be like, I have 2 choices. Generally we do 3. It's just kind of industry standard. You always give 3 choices of distinct choices. You know, I guess it depends on where you go, using the restaurant analogy, but it would be like, I want to give you, you can have a hamburger, oh crap, a taco or a salad, 3 distinct choices. Which one do you want? And then they're like, oh, we're doing salad. And you're like, okay, go with the salad option. And here we go. We're going to go forward with that option. I hope that makes sense. So that's what we're doing. So and I'll look at these. I'll look at these tomorrow morning, because they're due at midnight. I'll look at them in the morning and I'll make comments. I generally, with the thumbnails, I let you pick your favorite. It's not because I'm lazy or I'm not trying to help. It's because I want you to be excited about what you work on for the next couple weeks. And if I pick the one you hate, you're like, oh, he picked the one I hated. Like, you're not going to go in that with a good sense of mind, because let me tell you, there is like a little, I guess paradox is the right word, that in the design world, when you show them those 3 thumbnails to the client who's paying for your work, they inevitably always pick the one you don't want them to pick. Like, it is like, you'd talk to like any goofy graphic design blog or whatever, there's going to be blogs about clients always picking the worst option. You give it to them. I mean, it gets to the point where like you start with 5 and you're like, I'd give the client 5, but I'm going to remove these 2 just so they don't have that option, because I don't want to do those. So it's a little bit goofy. You will learn over time. So this is one. I don't have both examples because it's pretty simple. Not, you know, pretty understandable what we got to do. So this is just the beginning. We saw all this. We got our images. We got about blah, blah, blah. Then they did their sketches, quick sketches, right? Six quick sketches. Check. I check the sketches. So if you're, and I look at every sketch, and there's 5 items. And I just go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I'll write back and be like, looks like you're missing the dates in some of them. I can't understand where this is. So you'll give feedback in that sort of way as well, because the client may stop you and be like, well, wait, we said we needed these things in it and it's missing them. And then you're like, oh, okay. And then I have to go back. You have to fix your work. Then you have to go and have another meeting with the client. Now the client doesn't trust your work because you kind of didn't include everything. So you got to think about all these things when you're dealing, because you are in a service industry, sort of service product. So now here are the rough drafts. Tightened everything up. They added some stuff. They made sure that like which images are where. They like kind of rethought, and they're gonna have the lightning coming down with some bolts, and they got the rock hand with the pinky ring and the friendship bracelet. This is the picture of the singer on stage. This is a stage picture. You know, like, so this is clearly, I know what I'm gonna get. And then here they have described the colors, the style, the fonts they're going to use. Photos will have a ripped effect on the top and bottom edge, the background bar. So you just write it out. Type out what you want to do too. You get a drawing and get a little type out. Here's why. In this day and age, you may not be meeting with the client. You just send it to them. Send it over email. And if they just see this, is that enough information? No, you got to include a little bit more. Quick little write-up on the side. This is what I'm intending to do. And then here's the other one. Just, you know, kind of worked on the flames a little bit more. Picture Ice Cube performance. The date goes here. Circles with Jelly Roll. Like, it's, I know as the client exactly what I'm getting. And then I'm like, okay, red, black, gray, orange, blue. All right, okay. Bold outlines on the flames. All right, that's what that is. It's a bold outline. Flames, Cooper Black headlines. They already got their fonts picked. That's great. Photos will have bold outlines and a lifted effect. Lifted, that means drop shadow. Drop shadows are the worst. And then the background, flames coming from the bottom right corner, gray under the flames for a smoky look. I'm sold. I'm in. So that's what you got to do. Any questions on the rough drafts for the posters? Oops. Now, once again, before the people who watch this leave, check your due dates. 12/4, 12/4, 12/4, 12/4, 12/4. It's quite a ways from now, but don't wait, because once we get back from break, we have like 2-ish weeks, 2.5 weeks, and then the semester's over. So we're cruising. It goes quick, especially these 8-weekers. They go really quick. So any questions, comments, or concerns before we close up the video? All right. I'm really looking forward to this first round of poster designs from everybody, the thumbnails. I'm excited to see where in the world we're visiting with our posters, which I always feel like there's at least one new music festival that I haven't heard of come across. So I'm excited to see what you guys come up with. All right. You know how to get a hold of me at any time. I want to be able to help out in any way I can. Other than that, take care. Have a great one. See you on Tuesday. Bye-bye.